Welcome to the world of scale modeling with Mike Ashe, where techniques, tips, and creativity come alive with dozens of tutorials, projects, tape-up reviews, and picture references to help you build better scale models and enjoy our wonderful hobby. Welcome to part 13 of detailing and building the Revell Monogram 148 scale B-17G. In part 13, I'm going to show you how I attach the main wings to the fuselage, fill in the seams with medium set super glue, sand everything smooth, and polish the plastic. I've got the wings glued into place using a Monogram interlock system between the wings and the fuselage. It's a very tight fit, and the wings clip back here and then come forward. And you can adjust them a little bit, which I did, so that the leading edges were, the leading edge of the wing was true to the leading edge protrusion here on the side of the fuselage. So now what I've got to do is go ahead and fill these tiny voids with super glue, and there's a little bit of flexibility here in the wings, so I can get the wing surface level with the protrusion on the fuselage and minimize my sanding. But it shouldn't be too bad. There's some voids back here that I can fill with some 10,000ths plastic. Let me flip this over. This is a pretty big model once the wings are glued on. And I glued them in place with Tester's glue. I put some Tester's glue on the interlocks, and it actually acted kind of as a lubricant so that it slid back and forth more easily. But you can see right here, you can just see it flexing just a little bit. And that's all you need, is just a tiny bit in order to prevent a ledge from forming on either side. And I'll probably work on the bottom half first, because there's more flex on the bottom half. But I really like the way it's coming along, and it's a good sized model. So once I get it all super glued up, I will show you what that looks like on both sides before I start sanding it down. I'm not going to be able to do any scraping here because it's too flat. So I'll have to sand, and I'll put tape to preserve as much of the raised panel line detail as possible. And on the narrow areas, I'll use these sticks, and then on the wider areas, I'll use sandpaper wrapped around balsa wood. So once this is done, I'll be ready to go ahead and prepare the model for priming. For that, I will probably install this window, and the canopy window, and then tape them up so that I'll be able to have I'll be able to work on these seams around here with some Elmer's glue once I get the first coat of primer on it. But it's come along pretty good. Heck of a lot better than the first one of these B-17s I built when I didn't have very good modeling skills about 30 years ago. So it's come along quite nicely. I've done several iterations of super glue along the seam lines, sanded it down, and I ended up just using these sanding sticks. They seem to work really, really well. And then I checked it with some Tester silver paint and found a lot of small areas that needed to be filled. So I think one more pass with my sanding sticks, and on the bottom too, and I think I'll have it. And then I just need to polish the plastic and smooth everything out, and we'll be ready to start the final painting. What I am going to do, I've got to blow out with high pressure air all the dust inside here, and then I can get inside with a Q-tip and clean these windows. They've all got dust on them, and there was just no way to get around that. And I fixed this crack that when I pushed too hard on the sanding, and I had the balsa wood here instead of here, and it cracked this top. So I've got this redone. I just need to smooth out that plastic, but it's come along much better than I thought it would. Looking real good. I had some tiny areas that I needed a little bit more super glue on, which I did, and then I sanded it smooth, and I put a final coat of silver paint on the seams on the upper surface and the lower surface, and it looks pretty good. So now I'll go ahead and take a Q-tip and remove the silver paint, because it's going to clog the sanding sticks and the steel wool pads for polishing. And I'll use this fine grit sanding stick to clean up some of the edges on the fine raised panel lines over here and over here, and there's two on the other side, and we should be ready to go. So I'll go ahead and cover all of these openings so the fine steel wool won't get inside these areas. And then when I'm done, I'll clean it all up, and then I'll go ahead and blow it out with some fine pressure air, and I'll get inside with a damp Q-tip again and clean the inside areas of the clear glass parts, and we'll be ready to start masking. So got a little piece there. One other thing that I will do prior to priming is I'll go ahead and I've got these marked where the bottoms are supposed to be, and these will be glued on, and then I will tape these onto the engine nacelles, so that I can do the priming and all of the painting all at once, and then the gray undersurface will match on all of these, and then we'll be set to go. So it's coming along pretty good. Not bad for a 45-year-old kit. So let me go ahead and get it all cleaned up, and we'll take one more look at it, and then we'll be set for the next step, which is priming and final painting. I've got the plastic polished, and as you can see, it's looking pretty good. Here's the underside. And what I did was I did this section, and then sprayed some Windex on a tissue and went ahead and wiped off all of the fibers that come off when you do the polishing. And this is the pad that I use. It's 0000 steel wool, super fine, but not ultra fine. And polishes the plastic really, really well. So I've got a little bit of dust there and there I need to clean out, but other than that, I'm done with the polishing. I'll go ahead and pull all this tape off. I'll put some high pressure air and blast it through the fuselage. I'll go ahead and clean out the glass that was glued from the inside, make sure I got all the dust and fibers off, and then I can begin the masking process after I glue on the outer parts of the engine nacelles. So we're in pretty good shape, and we're ready to move on to the next step. And I'll show you, before I do the masking, I'll show you what the engine nacelles look like with the outer edges glued on. The forward pieces of the engine nacelles have been glued into place, and I used Tester's red tube glue to do it. Put tiny drops on the back side of these parts, and it gave me a little bit of working time to help position them correctly. And now, of course, I put some masking tape on the forward part of these discs so that they'll be covered, And then when I'm ready to glue the engine, the engines in place, all I have to do is use a few drops of Testor's glue here, and everything will hold in place nice and tight and be very strong. The other thing I did was, let me turn this beast over, is from my donor kit, I've got the main landing gears in place here, and as well as the tail wheel, so that everything will sit on these three areas when I start to prime and do the finish painting after I have everything masked up. And I'm really pleased. So now it's time to start priming, masking and priming. The other thing I did was I checked the cockpit windscreen one more time, and it's a really tight fit. So I think what I'm going to do is, instead of gluing this in place, I'll go ahead and mask it and paint it separately, and then once I'm done here, then I'll just slide it in place. And there's two tiny areas. I don't think you can see them here, but they're right behind the pilot and co-pilot seat. There's a place where where the glass slips in place and clips in place, and I think what I'll do is I'll just put tiny drops of Testor's glue on the inside areas here, and that'll hold this canopy just right. So we are ready to start masking, and as I go through the process of masking, I'll show you how I do it. This concludes part 13 of detailing and building the Revell Monogram 148 scale B-17G. In part 14, we're going to start masking and airbrushing the main assembly as well as all of the parts. Part 14 is probably going to have to be in two parts because the videos I took are pretty extensive. So stay tuned. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel and give us a thumbs up. And when you get the chance, visit our website at www.mikeashley.com, where you're going to find dozens of free PDF downloads, including tutorials, picture references, model galleries, projects, and my 5 original scale modeling books. Thanks to Bensound and Videvo for the royalty-free music, and happy scale modeling!